Good evening. Welcome to a Thursday session of Cat Space. I'm Kat. This is Buckets and my mentor Horsey. Good evening. How are you?
I am good. Happy Easter. Whoops, that
Happy
was last
Easter.
week.
Happy Easter. So tonight's conversation or topic we're having is all about Harry and Meghan. To start off with some knowledge that Her Majesty's Uncle David or Edward VIII was king from January 20th, 1936 until the same year of his abdication to marry Wallis Simpson, who's a twice divorced woman. Wallis
Mm.
Simpson is an American who's twice divorced, which ties into this topic. The first question I have is, even though the royal family is rich and well to do, are they secretly trapped within a class established by the royal family?
I suppose so. I mean, the funny thing is about the royal family is they are very rich and they'll never want for anything, but they do have to perform certain roles, don't they? And if they, they to get out of it is a very difficult business.
Mm.
Can be done, as with Harry and Meghan, they kind of trying to get away from it, but yeah, it is. It is. They are in a bit of a bind in a way, and they probably think to themselves from time to time that they'd rather be free, like everybody else.
Mm. Now, as we know, which this is why Her Majesty's the Queen's uncle David or Edward VIII that married Wallis Simpson, twice divorced American woman,
Mm.
was that Meghan Markle is an American and she's divorced and married into the royal family, which has a similarity of when her uncle David left to go to America to be with Wallis Simpson. Now,
Mm.
Harry is in the States with Meghan. So, as you can see, the similarities of her Uncle David with Harry are very sort of the same planet or the same world almost. They're
Yes.
both living in different parts of they lived in different parts of the world.
Well, I find it interesting that Meghan was divorced before marrying Harry, and so was Wallis Simpson. So she was divorced twice before marrying the king, before he
Mm.
abdicated. Um, and of course, being the royal family and the head of the Anglican Church, that would have really shaken them up a bit because they're meant to be, um, they're meant to be the um, leaders of the faith, so to speak. But they can't be seen to break any of the rules or the type of laws that are supposed to keep them in power to begin with.
Mm.
So that
I'm not sure about the Anglican Church. I mean, I know the Catholic Church frowns very heavily on divorce.
mm,
And I mean, the Queen is still, I think, the head of the Anglican Church, and the keeper of the faith and all that. I'm not sure what their rules are on divorce and whether, because I don't think a Catholic priest will marry anybody who has previously been divorced at all. They'll refuse to perform the ceremony.
But due to the similarities of David or Edward VIII, who married Wallis Simpson, left
Mm.
England to live in America, and now Harry is living in America. So kind of the two worlds are making the same story and history repeating it.
Yes, but not because of the same reasons. I mean, that the scandal that happened in the 30s, he abdicated the throne.
Yeah.
And Harry, I mean, yes, Harry is moving away from his royal family duties, but it's not quite as abrupt as all that. And it happened well after they got together.
Hmm. Okay. Second question is, have we forgotten that the royals have feelings as well, but choose not to show them in the public eye?
Oh, they do that, don't they? Yes, they're very stiff upper lip.
Hmm.
They're just people like you and I, really. They're no different to anybody else. Just because they have a particular position. But have we forgotten that the royals have? No, I don't think so. We've spoken about Harry and Meghan in the past. Remember that conversation we had, and we talked about their commitment to each other and the various aspects of what they'd done and why they made the choices they had.
Mm.
And I remember saying that, I mean, I actually have a lot of respect for what they've done and their commitment to each other, regardless of the fact that the Queen may not be amused.
Mm.
But yeah, look, I think they're definitely showing their human side. Lately, there's been a lot of discussion about Meghan and how nasty she's supposed to be, and how she went into it with the intentions of getting Harry away from his family.
Yeah.
Which I doubt that still. I mean, I don't know them personally. If I did, I could ask, but I doubt that myself.
I mean, we have
Well,
Piers Morgan, who left Good Morning Britain because of his stance on Meghan being manipulative, controlling, vindictive, playing the Diana card. That her interview is quite similar to the Princess of Wales, to Princess Diana's, that she manipulates Harry into believing everything she says and does, and that he has no backbone to say, no, this is my family, this is what you married into, this is where I'm staying.
Yeah, but you see, Piers Morgan is a different kettle of fish, because the thing is, he expected to lure Meghan with his fame into potentially dating, and he thought if he bought her lunch or dinner or drinks, that she would basically fall in love with him, and they'd continue to date, or at least possibly marry down the track. And he was basically heartbroken at the fact that after getting all the drinks and getting all the food from Piers Morgan, the next place that she went to was Harry.
It was Harry's party.
Harry's party, and he was heartbroken about that. So he was quite angry about that. So he might say that Meghan's manipulative, and that might be a little bit true. But at the same time, the only reason why he's saying that is because he has personal problems with Meghan for not basically falling in love with him. When normally his charms would most likely work with everyone else.
See, Princess Di was different as well. I don't think for a minute that she was manipulative.
No.
If anything, Charlie has always been playing around with that other woman right through their marriage. And whatever happened when Diana died, whatever that was about, I don't know. There are various theories about the fact that was, she was deliberately taken out. I'm not sure about that, but she was a victim more than a perpetrator in these things. I don't think she was. I think she was quite a lovely person, actually.
I absolutely adored Diana. Okay, so the third question is: has Harry and Meghan opened a door that wasn't meant to be opened, that needed to be opened, and puts the royal family in a bad light?
I honestly think that Meghan basically opened a can of worms that she shouldn't have opened.
I would call it opening Pandora's box.
You can call it whatever you want, but the minute you call a long-lasting family racist and you start using, I saw the interview with Oprah, and she was literally using every card under the sun. She was using the race card for being black. She was using the female card for being a woman. She was using the fact that she was pregnant as another card. She was also using the trapped card. I'm a victim. Please help me. Why aren't you helping me? I'm a woman. Every card under the sun she was using. Now, you could argue whether that's manipulative or not, but you can't deny that she wasn't using race, her sex, the fact that she's pregnant, and the fact that she's a foreigner to her advantage. And that leaves the royal family in a very sensitive position, because once you basically accuse the royal family as racist, sexist, misogynist, whatever, there will be dire consequences, because the Commonwealth countries who are currently under their leadership will go, well, what do we need you for? If you're going to, we don't want to basically be led by a bunch of people who don't follow the same multicultural culture that we do. Why would we want to have anything to do with you now? And that's why it's so dangerous. And that's why it's a really, 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 really big deal. So that
we don't need them
slightly.
I think
we don't need the royal family. And so the trouble is, it's decades ago, the Commonwealth was much bigger than it is now, and was much more important on the world stage than it is now. Our society, most countries in the world now have more or less multicultural societies, which wasn't the case decades ago. And so, given that, the place for a wide English royal family as the the leaders, as you say, of the Commonwealth, it's really irrelevant. It is. It really is irrelevant. It wasn't irrelevant 50 years ago, but it is now. We don't need them.
It's if I sorry for interrupting. If I may, the only singular thing that maybe the royal family do have is the fact that, as we mentioned before, that the Queen is the head of the Anglican Church, and that's about it. That's basically like the equivalent to the Pope to Catholics. So if she's seen as the head of the Anglican Church, that's where a lot of her power might continue. But you take that away and go, well, anyone can be the head of our church. You won't need a queen.
It's not much power, though. It's not much power, though, Phil, because, I mean, yes, the Pope, who the Pope is to the Catholics, and the Pope is supposed to be a mediator that the Catholics look to and they even pray to, in the same way they pray to Mary, and so he plays much more of a role as the head of the church than the Queen does as the head of the Anglican Church. I don't know any. I mean, I'm an Anglican. I go to an Anglican church. I don't know any Anglicans who still even pray for the Queen. I mean, the prayer for the Queen is in the Anglican liturgy, but it's not used very often nowadays. And as far as being the head of the church, I mean, as far as our church goes, it doesn't really go much further than the hierarchy of the Sydney bishops and archbishops. That's about it. No one really practically considers the Queen as the head of the church. And Protestant Christians actually consider God to be the head of the church. And you don't actually need anybody on earth to be the head of the church. That's the Lord. So that's another thing. The Catholics don't share that view. The Catholics are very much interested in human hierarchy. So it could be. I mean, practically the Queen has no influence at all on the Anglican Church in Australia, as far as I can see, apart from her status as a figurehead, as the technical head of the church. So if that were to be removed, as far as most Anglican churches in Sydney anyway, I can only speak really for the local area, I don't think it would make any difference as to the running of the church and what they teach and preach and what they encourage their members to believe in.
I mean, for me personally, I think opening a Pandora's box and bring back the days of Diana, people now talking more about Diana than they ever have, and there are people of supporters of Meghan and Harry who see Harry as his mother's son, a rebel, a naughty child, rebel teen growing up who now is following in his mother's footsteps, who's speaking out, his wife is speaking out, while you have Prince William, who's also his mother's son, but who's also meant to be king and is going to follow in the footsteps of, the Queen and become head of state one day soon. And, William.
It's interesting, Kat, that, I mean, Harry obviously has no real ambitions to be king.
No.
Although he is, eighth in line or whatever it is, but he's not really interested in that. And whether any of the others are interested in it, whether William is interested in it, perhaps a little bit more, but he's also interested in doing things in his life that he wants to do. The prospect of being the monarch really does. if it doesn't even interest members of the royal family itself, then it's relevant. It really is.
I mean, you have, you have someone who is like, no, I don't want this for my family. I don't want this for myself. It wasn't good for her. And her saying, her mental health was at stake, where she felt suicidal on a daily basis and didn't want to tell her husband, Prince Harry, because she didn't want him to worry. And going to the institution and saying, I need to go somewhere to for people to help me. I need to go somewhere to, find my peace, find my balance, to help me with my mental health. And for her to say, they said to her, "Oh no, we can't help you. You can't do that because it's bad for the institution."
Well, perhaps that's true. You see, she's got into. I mean, she's with Harry, and I think their commitment to each other is pretty real. And maybe she didn't realise what it would entail. Maybe she didn't realise how controlling the Queen and other members of the family could be in demanding that if she's going to join the family, she perform certain roles. I mean, she must have realised that was possible, but perhaps when she got into the situation, she thought, hang on a minute, I want Harry, but I certainly don't want all this. And they would have discussed it. Harry was probably, saying things like, okay, well, I certainly understand that, which is why he also is moving away from his role in the royal family. And so I'd say that, that's pretty much on the level. She may well have found it so stressful, being forced to be part of the royal family and perform certain duties, that she may well have had mental problems because of it. She may well have been quite depressed and even suicidal. I'd say that's likely.
Well, it's actually interesting that she didn't see this coming, because the thing is, when you, for any marriage, doesn't matter whether it's Kat and I getting married, or you getting married, or anyone in the country or the world getting married, you don't just marry the person that you love.
You're marrying into the family.
You're marrying into the family.
Well, that's right. But there are certain things in my marriage, which has been going for 20 odd years now, that I didn't foresee. And there are times when I thought, well, if I could go back, then I would change things radically. I wouldn't have gone down the track that I had gone down. And I didn't realise that before the marriage, or even at the time of the marriage, or in the first couple of years. So, things to do with other family members. And so it's that's all I'm saying about Meghan. That's probably what has happened with her. And it's impossible to realise and fully experience what you're going to experience later beforehand, some time before. It's not possible to actually get everything, understand everything that you're going to go through.
Good point. Next question. Is the royal family prepared to change with the people they lead so Meghan and Harry can be accepted into the royal family once again? Are they willing to change and become a bit more modern? Because the institution is hundreds and thousands of years old. And
apparently not.
Are they willing?
Apparently not.
Why would they change for someone so insolent? That's how they see it. Why should we change the way that we've done things for hundreds of years just because one person doesn't like it? And Meghan might be in the right where she says, I needed help and they didn't give it to me. I needed psychological help and they couldn't give it to me. They refused to give it to me. But you're talking about an institution that's been in power for a millennia
and set in its ways.
And set in its ways. Who are people who are used to being in power, used to telling others what to do, would change their ways for one person? One person that wanted to run away from this. So I don't.
It's interesting that 80 years ago, when Wallace Simpson and the other fellow, eloped basically and left the family effectively. It's possible today to do what Harry and Meghan have done, and just run away, or not run away, but just move away. And there's some level of acceptance in the community of that happening. But 80 years ago, it certainly wasn't possible to do that in the way they've done it. You had to just,
deal with it.
basically leave, make yourself scarce, and be rejected by the family outright. That's the reality of it, what it was like then. So, because of the changes in our society, regardless of the fact that royal family may not have changed their stripes, and they are still as staid and controlling as they ever were, hanging on to the empire as it was, even though it's becoming smaller and smaller, and perhaps less relevant, as I'd argued, they've been able to do that in the context of our society. And that, you know, I don't know whether I'd say that's a good thing or not, but it probably is.
I mean, before we go on to the next question, the only thing I have to say about this is that I think, even though God bless her, she is what, 95 this year, or 94, 95 this year, and the Duke of Edinburgh is 100 this year in June. I think, even though the Queen can't abdicate till she, and because by right, she would have, God forbid, if she passes away, then Prince Charles becomes king. But in the instant,
God forbid Charlie being king. Is that what you mean?
exactly,
Because the
God
Queen
forbid,
the Queen will pass on the next few years, most likely. But anyway,
you know, we have Prince Philly, who's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Technically, he's not well, and the Queen, as wonderful she's, I think if she is to not abdicate but step down and give Prince Harry a go to come back and say, we're your family. She has brought out statements saying Harry, Meghan, and Archie are very much loved members of the royal family. But to be honest, I don't believe that is so, because if they are loved, why did you? This is where Harry points out in the interview with Oprah is they cut him off financially. He's only living on the money his mother gave him.
Well, the thing is, the way that I've been told is that everyone thinks that Harry does nothing because he's eighth in line of the throne, and what's his relevance, since there's no way he's going to take the throne ever. But being in the royal family is like a unit, and it's like working as an actual job. So he'll be shaking hands with leaders and talking to leaders and doing speeches and being the head of charitable events, and that's his job, and that's why he gets money from the Queen and other significant royals like Charles, like William. But because he's quit that role, that's like quitting your job. And so to the royal family, they see that as, well, why should we continue to pay you if you're not going to do your job? It would be
indeed.
It would be the equivalent of me continuing to pay someone who's working at McDonald's as a chef, and that chef quits, and me continuing to pay them even though they don't work at McDonald's anymore. And that's how the British public basically see Harry. But on the other flip side to it is, Harry is royalty and his children are royalty.
He shouldn't get no titles or
that won't change.
Yeah. So
the interesting thing is, though,
I mean, it's Harry's kids and Harry himself could potentially be a political threat. He could be kidnapped, all sorts of things. And then they could quite easily ransom the monarchy if they're not properly protected. So
interesting thing is about Harry, I think that he still has a fair bit of respect. I'm not sure about the British public, but I think the Australian public still have a fair deal of respect for him, regardless of the fact that he's moving away from his family. I don't know whether they have the same respect for Meghan, but I think that's largely because of the publicity around her being vindictive and doing all these nasty things, which may or may not be true. But so Harry, I think, is still, even though he doesn't have the official royal roles anymore, I think he's still fairly widely respected.
I would agree on that. I think he's respected by Australians, especially because they see Harry as the victim in all this.
And the modernizer.
I guess they would see the royal family as as the institution, but more than that, they would see them as the bully, whereas they would see Harry as the victim that's been victimized
Prince
for all
William
these
as the
years.
bully.
Well, I don't know if they see Prince William as the bully, but I know that they would see the institution itself as the bully.
Okay, here's where my next question ties into that. Okay, here's where my next question ties into that. After Meghan's admission that her children won't be given royal titles due to the color of their skin, will this cause a backlash against the Queen? And I say yes, because when Harry first met Meghan and they went on a date, a private date, and they went on a second date, she ended up meeting the Queen first. And then she met she met Prince William and Duchess Catherine first, and their kids. And as what we know, they liked her, they fell in love with her. And there was no backlash. But I think Prince William was telling his little brother, look, okay, you just met this woman. What do you know about her? She's American. She's an actress. She has her own money. Okay, but you don't know her background story. And now it's come out that Meghan's children, or Meghan's child, Master Archie and whatever their daughter, their daughter, soon to be daughter that's going to be born soon, is that not receiving titles, not receiving protection, not receiving an HRH, not receiving security. Meghan said to Oprah, look, I don't mind if they don't give me any of that, but to take that away from my husband and my son and soon to be daughter, I think that's appalling. But if you look at it, if you look at the succession, Prince Anne Royal, the only daughter of Queen Elizabeth, her daughter Zara doesn't have a title. She doesn't.
Well, they're still part of that's right, because they're female, but I suppose, but they're still part of the family line.
Yes, but
so whether they're given official title or HRH, they're still part of the family line.
Yes, but Zara Royal, who's married to Mike Tyndall, the greatest rugby player in all of England, right? He earns a mint. She's an equestrian. She played in the Olympics. She's a mom of two, and she doesn't earn anything from the purse of England or the Queen, nor does she do any royal duties. She doesn't hold any titles. Her children don't hold titles. So what bothered me about Meghan is that saying, oh, Archie's not going to be given a title or protection or security because someone in the royal family blurted out, but his skin might be different, like a darker color when he comes out. And the person who says that, may God forgive me, I'll probably be punished for this, but it was Princess Anne. Princess Anne. And that didn't surprise me because Princess Anne is just like her father. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, God give him long life, he was very racist in his time. And for Prince Anne to mouth off and say, oh, Archie might be a darker color now,
Well, it's only going to add to the community's perception of their irrelevance, because you can't express views like that these days and get away with it.
But you also got to see it from the point of view that these are royals during a time, and they've lived a very long time, where that kind of talk would have been perfectly acceptable. Now it's not. Now it's terrible. But back in the day where they were in their prime, they could say basically anything they wanted and get away with it potentially.
I think it's because the Queen is so very old, and Prince Philip is so very old, and she's been Queen since 1953, which is 50 odd years, isn't it? Nearly 60 years. And so if that weren't the case, if she had passed on 20 years ago and Charles was king, or someone else was king or queen, then it may be a bit better. But because the same people have been incumbent for so long, I think that's the problem. Those attitudes they've taken those attitudes with them throughout their entire reign. That's the problem. And it will be interesting to see what does happen when a new monarch takes the throne. When the Queen does pass on in a few years' time. I mean, I don't know. She might live. I mean, she's 95. She might live another 10 years, but it's unlikely
No,
It's unlikely that she'll live beyond that, really.
No.
So we're looking at within the next decade,
look,
she'll pass on.
the next question that ties into that is, was stripping away Harry's protection and Archie's protection in regards to security appropriate? The answer is no, because I think it's important because Archie, when he grows up and he becomes of age, at the age of, I read somewhere recently that in an article online saying that when Archie becomes of age and his grandfather is king, he will receive the title of His Royal Highness Prince Archie Mountbatten Windsor, and he will have to go to the UK and become a proper working royal and marry an aristocratic girl.
I don't know about that. I don't know whether that'll happen because if he doesn't receive a title, I mean, down the track, but even if he does, I mean, whether that will be expected at that time, because we're talking 20 years time, something like that, aren't we?
No. Yeah. Next question is
and what state the royal family will be in then, and what the go will be in 20 years time.
I think in 20 years time, I believe in 10 or 20 years time, Prince William and Duchess Catherine will take to the throne as King William and Queen Consort Catherine, while if Charles is on the throne, it'll be King Charles and Princess Consort Camilla. She will not be known as Queen Consort. She'll be known as Princess Consort. So the Queen has demoted her down the line because she doesn't want Camilla secretly becoming queen after her, because she believes Kate has stepped up to the plate and then some and shown England and the world why she's capable to be William's wife and mother of the 3 children and a queen. So, Camilla will get Princess Consort, while Catherine will be Queen Consort.
Well, she won't even be Queen Consort, she'll just be Queen.
No, Queen Consort is the title she'll be getting. But the thing is it appropriate to strip away protection? No, because
it's a hard line with Harry's title, because yes, Harry has given up his title and doesn't want to have much to do with the royal family, but given the level that he actually is, given the fact that he is still a prince, given the fact that he is Charles's son, he is still
a royal.
He's still could be a political, target.
Yes, that's right. But I don't think Harry would care, actually.
I
don't think he minds that it had happened.
I don't think he's really cared for his title, nor has he cared for royal duties. He's always said that he's always had one foot in and one foot out. So if this is his escape, this is him completely out. But
so I would disagree with that. I think that he probably doesn't care about the royal duties. That is 100% true. But when it comes to his children, I think that he would want as much protection for his children that he could get. And that's the bit where I think William should be a bit more generous and support him for a bit longer, purely because it's his brother.
Yes, but right now, Prince William, like his father, is seeing red, because that bombshell interview, we have not seen a bombshell interview since Princess Diana's interview with Martin Bashir. And that was a bombshell. Now, this was an atomic bomb waiting to go off. We all knew sooner or later they were going to speak out against the firm, against the institution, against the Queen. But what upsets me, she's your grandmother, and he's your grandfather, and your father and your brother. Do not disrespect them. You're eighth in line to the throne. Use your moments to go, okay, I'm going to live in the US. I'm going to have 2 jobs. I'm going to support my family. But
I'm not sure about that interview, whether it really... I mean, it obviously was a fairly carefully crafted thing, as most of these interviews are. Whether everything that was said was included in the final product, probably not. And there are ways of editing interviews to show one side or the other, or to show certain viewpoints, and to concentrate on certain viewpoints, and perhaps that has happened here.
But he
You
needs
know,
to go back to the UK. Like, he's supposed to go back this year to put a statue of his late mother where she's laid to rest. And William's supposed to be with him. But the thing is, now that he's got 2 jobs, but he's still a prince. He cannot become a US citizen. Yes, he has diplomatic immunity. And she even has said she has thought of becoming the president of the United States of America. Will Harry ditch his family to become a second gentleman? I don't think so.
But like I said in the other video, the fact that he's born in England, he's a prince, and he wants to live in America. I mean, he could probably get some sort of working visa, but there is no way that Harry will ever become the president of the United States.
No, his wife.
His wife, possibly.
I don't think he wants to.
But his wife possibly might, and maybe she would have like a higher thing. But the fact that Harry's basically royalty might, I'm not sure how that would go for the Americans. I'm not sure how they would see it. His children could certainly apply to become president or some sort of senator, because they would be born in the US. But the fact that there's a lot of English blood between them at such a high level, I'm not really sure it would be popular for Americans to vote, to be perfectly honest, because they want an American in power. They don't want foreign influences influencing their government.
I mean, should their son be of age and their daughter be of age, they will have to return to the UK, but they will still have to return to the UK when his grandfather passes away. And when his grandmother passes away and when his father becomes king, he will still need to go to the UK. You can't tell me when, God forbid, Prince Philip dies, he's not going to set foot in England and go to the funeral. No, it would be very wrong of Prince Harry. It'd be very wrong that if he doesn't show up to, his grandfather has been in hospital for a month,
that they would have personal
gravely
feelings.
ill.
That they would have personal feelings against Harry and Meghan, particularly Meghan, that they might even say to Meghan, and as cold as that actually is, it probably might happen, because she's already insulted England with everything she said. So I think what she thought, she's probably won the social media ground. But when the Queen actually does pass away, I would not be surprised if the royal family ban Meghan Markle from the funeral. I wouldn't be surprised.
Or Prince Philip. Next question. Yeah. Why has the royal family continuously silenced its own family members like a dictatorship in a democratic nation such as England?
Interesting question.
I suppose we've already discussed how inflexible they can be. So I guess that's why, because they want to push a particular view and they don't want to, come away from that. They don't want to vary from that. And because so many members of the family are so very old, really, they're getting on, you see.
Because the Queen and Prince Philip, and we know the Prince of Wales and Prince William have all tried to silence Harry and Meghan by, you're royal, you should have a stiff upper lip, you're British, show no emotions, show no remorse. But the thing is, Harry still went on Oprah and talked, and that for them was not on. And the thing is, they even silenced Diana. They tried to silence Diana as she did that bombshell interview. But the thing is, they silenced their own family members by say nothing, do nothing, react to nothing, stay out of the limelight. But you want them to stay out of the limelight, yet they have royal duties. They're in the limelight. I
think the Queen should have stepped down probably 10 or 15 years ago and allowed Charles to become king, or I think that's what should have happened. I don't think someone should carry on when they're getting on and getting on and getting older and older. Practically, I think it's because she is. I mean, she's not frail, but she is very old, and she doesn't do a great deal now. And for her still to be queen, I don't think really she should be.
So one of the things I found interesting about the interview was the fact that Harry said something very interesting, which was, Harry said, "I didn't realize I was in a box until I met Meghan." So
I was in a trap. I was trapped.
But what did Meghan actually say to Harry to convince him that he was in a trap? So was it the fact that he realized he didn't have any freedoms, that he felt like he was in trap, or was it
Their relationship was
it the relationship that they had?
Was always in the public eye.
Well, no, but what was it that made Harry go, you know what, I'm stuck and she's right, or what was it that Meghan said to Harry that made Harry feel I can't be in this family anymore? Because the thing is, Harry had no problem being in this family before he met Meghan. What was
not that we're aware of.
No, but I think she must have, made it known to him that Diana, his mother, suffered through the paparazzi, suffered through the Queen, suffered through Prince Charles, suffered through Prince Philip, suffered through the royal family. And as much as I am a supporter of Meghan, and I do support Harry, but the thing is, the downfall of this woman is that you knew your husband's a royal. You knew your children, even though they're not going to get titles and security and protection, they're still royal. They still have blue blood in them. They're British.
Well, she has nothing invested in the royal family necessarily, so I guess so.
Was it that moment of, oh, he's a prince, I can feed off his money, I'll do whatever it takes, and his reputation as a prince, that he's a prince, I can have my happily ever after in a castle and do royal duties and have royal children and have the life and the luxury. Excuse me, you have your hair washed by hairdressers, you have your dresses picked out, you have your shoes picked out, your jewelry picked out, your speeches picked out, your organized royal organizations picked out for you. What more of a life do you want?
Yes, but the thing is, I think what she wanted was, a lot of women, is that they're actually addicted to success. And I'm sure that Meghan would have seen Harry as successful, as the most highly successful person in the world. And but obviously she wants to have, she's used to having independence, she's used to having her own way, she's used to having a lot of power in the relationship. And I reckon there would have probably been a conversation in their relationship about, I can't live here because I feel suffocated in your family. Let's go back to mine.
There's definitely a battle going on. You're right.
Yeah, there would have been some sort of pressure that would have been put on Harry to go, well, if I don't listen to her, she's going to leave me. And he wouldn't want to give up his children for, an unhappy lifestyle. So
they had a big wedding for the whole world to view. They had a big wedding.
That was the weirdest wedding I've ever seen for a royal wedding.
I love the wedding, but besides the wedding, they had a big wedding. Pomp and circumstances, rich and people. Why marry into a British royal family if you full well know you don't want to be in a royal family? You might as well have gone to Monaco and been part of their royal family, or go to Denmark and been part of their royal family.
If you didn't want to do that, you should have basically picked one in Sierra Leone. You probably would have had more freedom.
Yeah, you should have picked somewhere, Switzerland, wherever they have a royal family. Go there. Why marry the British royal family? No, they're stuck up when other royal families are modern. They wear jeans and t-shirts. They go out. They have fun. Why marry into a royal family, period? If you knew you wanted to bring the royal family down from the inside. And she said, here's the kicker before I ask the last question, is when she was on Oprah, she said she had not done any research or known anything about the royal family. Excuse me, I don't think that's true, because
everyone.
Well, maybe not, but
she knew.
Sure, there's
what some of what it would entail. But I think her commitment to Harry and her love for Harry trumped everything else. That's
Yes.
what it was.
Yes, but she had a book about Diana. She's seen and heard and read and everything about Diana. And as much as I do love Meghan, I am supportive, don't get me wrong, but there are things about her that make me go, why? Why are you doing this? Like, is it money? Is it fame? Is it?
As I said, I think they love each other, and that's right from the off, and so that has been there all along. And we all, through our life, say, "Oh, we want to have our cake and eat it too." So, having got together with Harry, she said, "Rightio, well, actually, I do want a bit more independence than this," and so they've spoken about it, and so they've attempting to have their cake and eat it too. But the one thing that I'm certain of is that they do love each other, they're committed to each other, and they don't want to leave each other, regardless of what goes on. So yeah, that's
I do believe
what I see.
I do believe they love each other, but there's a limit to
There-
marrying into a family that that she didn't just marry a man, she didn't just marry a stranger, she didn't marry someone off the street or a celebrity. She married
a prince,
the crown prince of England.
No, I have no doubt that Harry and Meghan love each other. They definitely love each other.
Yeah.
That is clear. And I know that's clear because Harry was willing to sacrifice literally everything for Meghan and her children. And I should say their children, really. But what did Meghan know exactly what she was doing, or did she not realize what she was doing? I mean, there would have been signs, right? But I don't know. Maybe she didn't. She realized that she bit off more than she could chew.
Okay. And last question for the night, I promise you. Is social media Meghan's secret weapon against the monarchy, against the firm, against the
Absolutely,
institution?
yeah. She honestly,
I don't know about secret.
Well, no, I don't think it's a secret weapon. I definitely think it's a weapon of mass destruction, but it's not a secret weapon. I think that Meghan has the world in the palm of her hands, and everyone wants to listen to her side of the story because she's married a royal, and
she's a feminist.
Well, and she's a feminist, and she's black, and she's a pregnant mother. I was talking to my brother about this, and he was saying, if you look at all the cards that she holds in her hands from a social media platform thing, as opposed to how many cards the royals actually hold with all their money and everything, I would say at this point in time, Meghan has way more power.
Well, she certainly is very clever with that. And yeah, she would run rings around the royal family as far as use of social media and getting messages out there, most certainly.
Yeah.
And as for power, yeah, I think she has certainly developed a taste for power.
Yeah. And as the last,
and that could not be a good thing.
No, and as the last thing, outing Prince Anne as the one who said the racial comment to do with Archie's skin, that was another bombshell. And now Prince William is even seething even more red that his brother has said, "Oh, it's my aunt. It's Aunt Princess Anne Royal is my aunt." And they didn't want to say who it was because they said, "Oh, it'll ruin their reputation." But the thing is, do you notice how? This is the last thing I want to say about this is the Duke and Duchess don't use their HRH titles anymore because they've been stripped. Been stripped of his military medals, right? Which I think is wrong. But they haven't stripped Prince Andrew of his HRH, nor have they stripped him of his medals, right? So why is that fair that they've stripped Harry and Meghan from using their the Royal Highnesses or HRH, his Royal Highness,
all their military titles,
or his military titles,
and
deserted him when Prince Andrew, who's been the biggest scandal of all, is still using his Twitter and his Instagram under HRH.
Well, it's not fair.
No.
It's certainly not.
Mm.
I think the best thing Harry and Meghan can do is just go off and run their lives the way they want to run them and be quiet, actually. But whether, I mean, Harry may well, but whether Meghan will be quiet, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think there's more to come still. What do you think?
Yeah,
There
look,
is.
there is definitely more to come. There
Well,
always is.
Well, let's leave it at
I
that.
fear what it might be.
Well, let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us. We had a
Yes.
great time, and we look forward to
Definitely did.
joining you next Thursday, same time, with a different topic. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button, like, comment, share it with all your friends. If you have any topics, let us know in the comment section.
And if the topic is good enough, then
You get a prize and a shout out.
And a shout out.
And yeah, so don't forget to do that. Good night, Horsey.
Hooroo.
Bye.
Bye.